Billie Jean King, winner of 39 Grand Slam titles, was the most influential and recognized female tennis player of the 20th century.
Billie Jean is the winner!
Since Billie Jean King was one of the first women in sports to not be afraid to use her voice, she was able to change equality for women.
King had the advantage of being born into an athletic family, where her dad had tried out for the NBA team and her mother was a swimmer.
In this interview, Billie Jean King elaborates on her upbringings and how her family was able to impact her decision on her career choice.
But you didn't come from a tennis-playing family, I understand. Neither your father nor your mother played tennis.
Well, nobody played in my family. I just happened to get into tennis at the public parks in Long Beach through the recreation department program. They gave free group lessons.
Once her father had introduced her to tennis, she started practicing at a country club where she discovered her passion for the sport.
However, King wasn't born into a very rich family, so she knew she had to be world number one for people to respect her.
For Billie Jean King to gain all of this recognition, she had to participate in various tournaments, and she always played her hardest. Before the 1960s, there was not just inequality with sports participation, but also with pay. There was a disparity between men's and women's prize money at tournaments. This caused Billie Jean King to decide to challenge Bobby Riggs to a match called the Battle of the Sexes.
We'll see how she responds at this juncture. You saw last game that Bobby had the pressure on him. He responded very well.
No tennis match ever had more symbolism than the match between Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. It was a match of the opposite sexes, a sight that no one has seen before.
This left a mark on the sports industry because a successful woman was able to overcome society standards.
After King won the match, it influenced professional sports to help women get paid the same amount as men.
During an interview, Billie Jean King reveals her true thoughts on Bobby Riggs and the influence he had on her.
He was both, but he was a sexist, but it's interesting that his wife's money is how they lived, because she was from a wealthy family. Today's society, people wouldn't think it's so funny anymore.
Billie Jean King explains the irony that Bobby Riggs thinks women shouldn't have equal pay, yet he depended on his wife's money to live.
Soon after that event, she threatened to boycott the U.S. Open unless the women's prizes were equal to the men's. Billie Jean King was not going to accept anything other than equal pay. On top of that, she co-founded World Team Tennis, the Women's Tennis Association, and the Women's Sports Foundation.
The USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center was renamed the National Tennis Center in 2006 to recognize her achievements both on and off the court. This is also the stadium for the prestigious U.S. Open.
King's off-court contributions included interviews speaking on women's rights issues.
Talk about equal pay, because back in our day, it was untoward to ask for equal pay or even ask for a raise.
I know, but I keep encouraging women to follow the money, because boys are taught to follow the money and girls are not.
That's right.
And I want girls to follow the money, because money equals power, choice, freedom, mobility, all those things. So it's important. So that was one of our fights in our sport.
This was only the beginning to Billie Jean King's accomplishments. Other accomplishments throughout her career include when President Emmanuel Macron applauded King during an interview and said, quote, "Dear Billie Jean King, you are an icon, a legend, and a superstar. In 50 years, you revolutionized international sport, but also the equality lying between men and women and the rights of minorities."
Throughout everything King has learned in her career, she has now become a big mental health activist.
But we also that money is not everything. Your personal health is the most important thing. Health is wealth, and so I hope that everyone takes a break. And if it's too much, don't play. Take good care of yourself.
In conclusion, Billie Jean King was one of the most impactful women who was able to change the way modern feminism is perceived and how it can evolve in the future.